crazy, man. Sometimes life throws you into moments you never expect. Like, I've sat across fighters, presidents, scientists, monks, people from every walk of life. That day, sitting across from Al Pacino, it felt different. It wasn't just another podcast, another conversation. It was like I was sitting with a man who had lived through every possible version of life and come out the other side looking for peace. Here's the wild part. We weren't talking about movies, not about fame, not about money. We were talking about Islam. Yeah. Faith? Surrender?
Stillness.
People usually avoid on camera, but that's what made it real. And you could feel it, man. The air was still. There was no act, no Hollywood filter. Two men trying to make sense of the noise around them. Pacino leaned back, looked at me, and said something that's been echoing in my head ever since. There's discipline in surrender, power in humility. And when he said that, it hit like a shot of lightning, bro. Because think about it. In this world we live in right now, everything is ego. Every scroll, every post, every ad. It's all screaming! You're the center! You're the star! You're the brand! Be louder! Be bigger. Be more. But nobody's talking about peace, talking about silence. Nobody's saying, slow down. And here comes this guy, Al Pacino, who's been through fame, chaos, addiction, glory, heartbreak, and he's talking about humility. And I remember thinking, damn man, maybe that's where the real power is, not in domination, but in surrender, not in the spotlight, but in silence. He said something like, Joe, when I look at Muslims, how they pray, how they pause their entire day just to bow, that kind of discipline, that's something Hollywood can't understand. And he was right. Think about it, man. 5 times a day, all over the world, billions of people, from Morocco to Malaysia, New York to Nigeria, different languages, colors, lifestyles, but one rhythm, the same motion, the same surrender. That's not chaos. That's structure. That's order in the middle of madness. That's something we've lost. And you could see it in his eyes when he said it. He wasn't being poetic. He was being honest. A man who had seen everything and was finally seeing truth. He said, you know what I noticed, Joe? They stop. They just stop everything and pray. No rush, no noise. Peace. And that's something, man, because in Hollywood, in our Western world, we never stop. We wake up chasing, we go to sleep scrolling. Even when we rest, we're restless. We call it grind. But really, it's chaos. And here's Islam, this ancient faith, saying, pause, remember. That's not control, that's clarity. That's not ritual, that's rhythm. And Pacino said something that stuck with me. Discipline isn't about control, Joe. It's about direction. Bro, that's deep. That's what we've lost. We've got freedom, but no direction. We've got comfort, but no peace. We've got everything, but we still feel empty. Maybe that's why Islam feels so powerful when you really look at it. It's not about being perfect. It's about being present. It's not about control. It's about connection. He told me this story from when he was shooting in Morocco years ago. He said he saw a marketplace, loud, alive, full of colors and chaos. And suddenly, it went silent, like the whole world paused. Shops closed. People turned toward one direction, and they prayed. And Pacino said, Joe, I swear, I've seen quiet on film sets. I've seen stillness on camera. That's silence. That was sacred. And you can't fake that, man. You can't direct that kind of peace. It comes from belief, from discipline, from something bigger than yourself. And then we got into fasting, Ramadan, and he said, imagine millions of people choosing, not forced, choosing to fast from sunrise to sunset together every day for a month. And I was like, that's wild, because we fast for fitness, we fast for abs, we fast to look better. But these people, they fast for faith. They fast to cleanse the soul, not the stomach. And Pacino's eyes lit up. He said, Joe, it's not deprivation, it's discipline. They're not running from hunger. They're embracing control. And that word again, discipline, it kept coming back. Because everything around us teaches the opposite. Consume more, scroll more, buy more, indulge more. And here's this faith saying, no, stop, be still. Remember who you are. That's counterculture, man. That's rebellion in the purest form. I realized maybe that's why Islam feels so misunderstood, because it doesn't sell you comfort. It sells you truth, and truth is heavy. Truth demands something from you. And then, bro, Pacino said something that gave me chills. He said, Joe, the Quran, it's the only book that hasn't changed in fun 400 years. Same words, same rhythm, memorized by millions. And I sat there thinking, man, that's insane, because we can't even keep a news story straight for a week without twisting it. Facts change, narratives shift, memories fade. But this book, it's the same word for word. And he said, as a writer, as an actor, I understand the power of words. But these words, they move people beyond reason. That's not coming from a preacher. That's from one of the greatest actors alive, a man who's built his entire life around the power of words. And you know what hit me hardest? He said, when I read some of it, Joey, it felt alive, like it wasn't just written. It was spoken through someone. And man, that's something I'll never forget. When a guy like Pacino, who's read Shakespeare, who's delivered lines that defined generations, says that about the Quran, that's not small talk, that's respect. And it made me think, maybe that's the missing link in our world. Respect. Not understanding everything, not agreeing with everything, but just respecting what's real. Pacino, you could see it in his tone. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He wasn't performing. He was just humbled, like the noise had finally faded, and all that was left was awareness. He said, Islam reminds you that you'll die, that you'll answer for what you did. And bro, that hit like a truck. Because here in the West, we run from death. We hide it behind filters and comfort. We pretend it doesn't exist. But Islam, it faces it. It says, you're temporary, your actions matter, your time is borrowed. And that gives weight to everything. It gives meaning to moments. It makes you live differently. And maybe that's what we're missing. All the tools, but none of the truth. All the noise, but none of the stillness. We talk about being woke, but we're asleep to our own souls. He said something that summed it up perfectly. He said, Joey, I think people in the West fear surrender. But maybe surrender isn't giving up. Maybe it's finally letting go. And that's it, man. That's the core of it, because when you surrender not to another person, something bigger than yourself, that's not weakness. That's freedom. That's peace. And I started to get it. What Pacino saw, what he felt. Islam isn't about control, about connection to God, to purpose, to community, to peace. And that's what we've lost. We've traded meaning for attention. We've replaced prayer with productivity. We've mistaken silence for boredom. But when you really stop, when you really surrender, you realize something deep. Peace isn't found in chasing more. It's found in needing less. That's what Pacino was trying to say, that in a world obsessed with having everything, maybe Islam reminds you how powerful it is to just be. So when he looked at me and said, Joe, there's something real about Islam, something the world doesn't understand, I felt that man, because he wasn't just talking about religion, he was talking about peace, about grounding, about coming home to yourself. And maybe that's what the world needs right now. Not more noise, not more talk, but more surrender. When you bow down to something higher, you stop being a slave to yourself. And that's real freedom, man. That's real peace.